What's up guys, Coach Az. I wanted to do a quick follow-up review on the Blitz Nemesis freestanding bag. I've had this bag for around 4.5, 5 months, and when I first got it, I did a video comparing it to a cheaper bag that I had got off of Amazon. This bag retails for around 500 to 600 pounds. The bag I had from Amazon was around 150. This is pre-pandemic when everyone wasn't buying punch bags. This was during the pandemic when suddenly everyone needed a freestanding bag. So that's a big part of why there was such a price hike on these things. I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown of the things I like about it, how it stood up, and also some of the critiques and criticisms that I had on the last video, some of the questions that came up based off of that review. So the things I left out. Let's go into it. I'm going to start with the base. I was singing the praises of the base when I got the bag. I liked the fact that it was low profile, which meant that I could work leg kicks onto the bag because it's more bag than it is base. I commented very much so on the cap, which you can't see here, but go watch the previous video. What I like about the cap is it's a waterproof screw lid. It's really, really secure, and it's got a really wide opening, which means it's really easy to fill. Now, initially, I filled this bag with water. I believe it's got around 100-litre capacity, and I filled it to capacity. I do not recommend, if you get a freestanding bag, I do not recommend filling it with water. Even completely full, this bag rocked really badly. And it didn't take a lot. I'd throw a jab and this bag would start tipping and going all over the place. Now, as you just saw there, I've now got it filled with sand, by the way. It still tips, but the difference is the recoil. So when I had water on it, what happens is, as the bag would tip, all the water would travel to one side, and as it would tip back, all the water would gush back, and what you'd end up getting is you'd get this recoil. So every time you hit the bag, it would go like this and this and this. The water would chug around and make a pretty horrendous noise. Not an issue for a lot of people, but I live in a shared accommodation. It is a bit of an issue for me. They're very understanding, but nonetheless, I wanted to minimize it. The sand, it is heavier, so the bag can definitely take a harder hit now, and much less recoil. We don't have the comparison to show you, but you can just take my word for it. A lot less recoil, a lot better with dry sand. Advice though, make sure you get a very dry sand. Don't get a sand that's got any moisture in it, because that's going to be very difficult to fill. A very dry, very fine sand, get a funnel and fill this bad boy up as much as you can. You can still move it about, so I can still push this and adjust it and get it where I want. I've got it on a nice slippery surface anyway, so that's no issue. The bag itself, it's held up really well. So I didn't explain on the last video, or sorry, I did explain on the last video. It's got a tube that runs up through the center. That's a big plastic tube, and that's been wrapped effectively with foam. So it's got about, I would say, a foot. I don't know what that is for you guys. Let's call it 12-ish inches of foam wrapped all the way around this tubing. Now, one critique I'll say is, the tube inside should have been a little bit thicker to ensure that it was very much gripping the foam. What I had previously was the tube was slightly slimmer than the foam cylinder. So again, when you hit the bag, you would hear the cylinder hitting on the sides of the foam, and it would just make some excess noise. It would just be making a lot of extra noise that was already unnecessary. Bags are loud enough as it is. What I ended up doing was wrapping a towel around the inner cylinder and then putting the bag over it. And it created a much tighter, much more snug fit. And now there's no additional noise from inside the bag, and the bag doesn't feel like it's rocking half as much. It's made a huge improvement. So a critique of this bag is that I think the cylinder that goes through the center of the bag, if I lift it, you can see it, this cylinder should have been wider to accommodate for the width of the foam. Uh-oh. We're there, that's my towel getting stuck on it. Right, the critique of my video, the one that everyone got upset about, they said I wasn't hitting the bag as hard as I could. Again, I live in shared accommodation, guys. I make these videos from home. So yes, I will admit I was not hitting the bag as hard. Everyone's out today, so shall we correct that? Here's me hitting the bag as hard as I can with some kicks. just so you can get an idea of what you're able to do it. Now, to be clear, I do hit this bag as hard as I can. I use it for my own training all the time. It's held up really well. I was very concerned when I got it about this line of stitching. It's not shown any issue. I was still quite concerned, to be honest, about this covering and if it would withstand. I got a feeling that it was going to start cracking and splitting, but so far, there's not really any sign of the bag deteriorating. The foam is holding up really well. It's not started to deteriorate. I'm sure it will over time. I mean, these things are not designed to go forever, but for the time being, it works just fine. So it definitely can handle a hard kick. You can give it a good hard shot and it handles just fine. Like I said, it will bounce a little, it will move a little, but you certainly can kick it really hard and it stays upright. The only possible exception, depending on how much power you can generate, is going to be in pushing kicks. So things like a side kick, you can see there is definitely a potential for that bag to go over. Now I've got things for it to bounce off of, and that means more often than not, the bag is going to come back. But you certainly could tip it over if you wanted to. They're very easy to pick back up. If you go from the top, you very easily get the bag upright. But in terms of being able to strike it full pelt, you certainly can hit this bag pretty hard and it's not really going to go anywhere. Okay, so I hope that answers that issue for any of you. If you were wondering about whether or not you could work with this bag if you're going to aim for heavy hitting. I do say use these bags more for a technique session. Don't think of it as a place to go to develop your power. A hanging heavy bag is always going to be superior for that instance. Issues with freestanding bag, while we're talking about it, is this base can be an issue because on a hanging bag, let's say the bag was exactly the same, so this width, this length, but it hung from this point, so there was no base here. It really changes your ability to do things with footwork. So the issue I often run in is I like to use kicks to get on the inside. So for example, I might like to practice my side kick and use that to then follow with my hands. Or I might like to throw my roundhouse kick and land on the inside. The base can often get in the way. It doesn't let you get as close or put your foot exactly where you want it. You're having to adjust slightly because the base is there. Whereas with a hanging bag, I'd be able to put my foot, inside that range of the bag and be able to work things like being toe to toe with my opponent. With here, I'm always gonna have to work at this range. It's very difficult without going around the bag to work this close in on it. Small critique, it doesn't affect my daily usage of it, but it is something I've noticed. Sometimes I'll kick and then I'll put my foot down either on the base or have to really adjust my technique in order to land. One of my few issues with it. Other than that, I've really been enjoying the bag. It works really well for me at training at home. It would be great in a gym. The ability to be able to move them around because you can just slide it around the space and put it exactly where you want it. It gives you a lot of flexibility with how you use the bag. It's also great if you don't have anywhere to mount a hanging bag. Hanging bags can be a real pain in the butt to get set up. If you've got a garage and you've got a wall, I would take a hanging bag over a freestanding one, but this is a great alternative. Guys, I hope that's answered all your questions on this bag. I hope that's helped you make a buying decision. Again, the only other critique I got on the other video is they thought it was sponsored. People thought that I was saying nice things about it and Blitz had paid me to do so. I bought this bag with my own money. I've done this video with my own money. I'm in no way associated with Blitz, but I do use them as a supplier for my business. They have not sponsored this video. They've not seen this video before I've made it. That's it, guys. Hope you liked the video. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.